Welcome to another episode of the Chronic Comeback Podcast. Today is a very special day. We've got three guys on a chronic health podcast, which is, I think, is unheard of. Josh and Joe, aka the Healing Dudes. How are you doing, guys?
Fantastic, man. I appreciate you having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
No worries, no worries. Yeah, I think I've mentioned it numerous times in the past about. I do think it's not a worse, but it's a different experience going through chronic health issues as a guy as it is for a woman. And I feel like there's just maybe a lot more out there simply because guys don't come and do stuff like this.
Right.
So yeah, props to you guys for for coming together and actually having a collective voice out there. So I think it's like super helpful. So thank you for that. So it'd be interesting, maybe if you guys can give us, because normally what I do is go back at the beginning of people's stories, get them to understand. So I would like to do that with both of you and then kind of see how those stories merge together. It'd be really interesting. So, Josh, if you could start, like how,
For sure.
From your side, what was life like before you started getting any sort of like chronic issues? Have you always had something going on, or could you take us through that part of the story?
Yeah. So life was pretty good before I came down with chronic illness. I was a senior engineer for the federal government. Life was great. I made great money. I was married. I just had a brand new kid on the way, and I had been in the workforce for a while and accepted the senior position. We had a general come through and kind of ream some of my guys, and we decided to go out and play paintball after work to burn off some aggression. And I gotten bitten by a tick. And 2 weeks later, I had the out of season flu, went to several doctors, tested for Lyme. They're like, negative. After that 2 weeks, I went back. I felt normal again. I took a job in Raleigh, North Carolina as another senior engineer position. I was only 26. And I remember being at work one day and it felt like the whole world was closing in on me. I don't really know quite how to explain it. And it would be what I now know to be derealization or depersonalization. But I had a full-blown panic attack and I woke up in the hospital. And from the moment I woke up in the hospital in 2006, I wasn't the same. I felt sick, and progressively from 2006 to 2009, I tried to work. I'd show up to the work parking lot. I'd yak in the parking lot. Like I was really, really sick. I'd get home. I'd crash, no energy, heart palpitations, just super foggy brain, lots of fatigue. And then I got to the point where I just couldn't lift my head off the couch anymore. And I had to stop working. I lost my house. Joe and I are both into racing. I'd, built cars at the time. I was super big in the car scene. I had a motorcycle. My house was foreclosed on. I lost my cars. Had to file for bankruptcy. I was so sick, and I went from doctor to doctor to doctor, and none of these doctors had any answers. I was at the time 29, and they just said that I was healthy, that it was in my head.
Yeah.
My blood work was normal. I went to Johns Hopkins, the Mayo Clinic. I went to all these specialty clinics, and they just said that I was fine. And eventually it got so bad to where I just couldn't get off the couch. My anxiety was severe because I didn't know what was going on with my heart. Air hunger, literally all these symptoms. And I went from doctor to doctor to doctor, never finding any answers. We lost our house. We had to move into my mother-in-law's basement, and she wasn't the biggest fan of me at the time. And there was mold there, and I just progressively got so sick. Eventually, I had gotten a positive Lyme disease test, and I thought that I found the answer to all life's questions when, an LLMD was treating me. And come to find out, I saw a bunch of Lyme doctors. I did PICC lines, hyperbaric oxygen, bee venom therapy, IV ozone. Loads and loads of antibiotics, and I just never got better. I got sicker and sicker and sicker. And eventually, I'm giving a very abbreviated point. I came to in 2014 where, I was so sick, and I was a big figurehead in the Lyme community. I spearheaded the effort for, Lyme awareness, trying to get bills passed on Capitol Hill, led large protests in front of the CDC, the IDSA, and realized that we're making little to no progress. And it was unfortunate, burnt out. My mom had passed, and I was sick, developed neuropathy from my waist down. So I had no feeling at all and was whizzing down my leg. I thought that life was over. So I tried to take my life in that time, and thankfully it didn't succeed. It was tough. As a man, I didn't feel like I had the support. I felt like I wasn't a man because I could no longer provide for my family. Like I couldn't work. People would look at me, and physically I would look healthy, but I felt like I was dying on the inside. And that was kind of a wake up call. We had some really cool events. My son was my caretaker at 9 years old. He was my primary best friend. I mean, he did some amazing things. He actually turned out to be an incredible viral sensation. We got to meet Steph Curry through the whole thing. Like they flew him out to do like the halftime show, and all these things that happened. And I just realized, even though great things were happening, I just wasn't getting better. And, we moved and we'd go from doctor to doctor to doctor, and I just kept getting more sick. I celebrated my 40th birthday 4 years ago, and we moved down to Florida. I thought that the weather would help. I still wasn't getting any better at the height of COVID. I was worried about getting sick. And, for all these years, it was just like one long blur of health issue, hospital stay, cardiologist, neurologist, and, just stuck in negativity. I tried neuroplasticity before, and I just couldn't stay consistent with it. And Joe will share his story, but we had known each other for years. We connected over cars in the Lyme community, and we kind of kept an off and on bond. And I got pissed because he got better and he wrote a book about it. And I'm still stuck here, sick. And the chronic illness community is dominated by women. And I just, couldn't find comfort as a man being sick. I felt less than, and it was really struggle. And fast forward to now, I have 4 kids. I wanted to be a father that they could look up to, and not someone that was, my life consisted of going from the bed to the couch, from the couch to the bed, in and out of wheelchairs. The neuropathy eventually resolved. Crazy story behind that. But, Joe ended up getting sick, and I'll let him tell his story, but we ended up connecting again, and he came down to Florida. So I'll let him kind of share his part of the chronic illness story and how we started to get better.
Yeah. It's kind of a wild story. Yeah. Josh and I have known each other for, I don't even know, for over 15 years now.
Yeah.
Like we've been connected. We both got sick around the same time. I got sick initially in 2005. I was 21 at the time. And prior to getting sick, again, just an active dude. I skateboarded. I was in college. I lived a healthy lifestyle, worked out, 3-4 times a week at least. Obviously was in a partying, drinking scene and stuff like that, beginning in college. But for the most part, I was healthy. And in, end of 2004 into 2005, I started getting sick with some weird neurological, symptoms, and physical and heart stuff. And, as a dude, we're always told, just man up, like, deal with it, and I spent, several months just like ignoring symptoms, just feeling them, but just like, I'll be fine. This will pass, whatever, not a big deal, but in the back of my mind, I was like worried because they were like severe, weird, like neurological stuff where I just get hit with like heavy fatigue, not being able to get off the bed, or heart stuff. And, after several months of trying to suck it up, I couldn't. I had to drop out of college, went from doctor to doctor trying to figure it all out. I eventually got a Lyme diagnosis, after almost a year. I'd been bit by ticks my entire life, and actually got bit, about 5 months prior to developing symptoms, but knew nothing really about Lyme disease or anything like that. And like Josh, finally then I had a diagnosis, and, I went from, treatment to treatment, very little success. Sometimes I would feel something, but then it would just, I'd crash after it. And then in like 2009, 2010, I really dove into mind body healing. It was pretty new at the time, like still, like there were people getting better, but I was like hearing stories of people dealing with like chronic fatigue syndrome or MS. And oddly enough, like I watched The Secret, the movie back then, but like, I was like, maybe there is something to like, where your thoughts and where your attention is, will help you heal. And it wasn't like the whole picture, but it kind of got me down that thinking of like, what if I could control how I heal? And so that's when I, started reading books, obviously like, stuff on like Joe Dispenza back then, and really getting into this this focus of like, I'm going to do what I can do to heal. I'm going to let go. I'm going to let go of the diagnosis. I'm going to, let go of, trying to figure it all out. I'm just going to start living my life as best I can. I'm going to be, do gratitude, positivity. I'm going to work out again. I'm going to live my life. There was a point when I got so sick and tired of being sick. I was like, I've been sick for years. It hasn't killed me. I'm going to live my life. And at this, I was like Josh mentioned, I was really sick for many years. Like I was pretty bedridden, but it was at this point, I was just like, I just got fed up with myself. But it was hard work. But after, a couple of years of doing this stuff, I healed and I went back and got my degree in graphic design, went back to school, then, went into the workforce, worked as an graphic designer, art director in advertising agencies and stuff like that for over a decade. Meanwhile, like I was pretty healthy. Like I would have times when I would like kind of feel worse, but I went back into some unhealthy lifestyle habits, stress, went back to drinking and like partying with friends, trying to live like a normal, 20, 30 something, at the time. And then 2 years ago, I got COVID and it just trashed my immune system. And I was back, as sick as I'd ever been. Had to basically, stop working, take a leave of absence. And then, I was like, I started getting back into, healing in terms of like, all right, I know kind of what I healed before in the past, but it had been so long, like I'd forgotten the ways. And then like, at this point, there are these, things out there. There was like DNRS and someone, had mentioned like Primal Trust and these other programs. And I started like learning about them a little bit. And I was like, this is kind of what I did to heal, a decade prior, but it's now with a program. And so I really was like, all right, I'm going back into this type of healing. And then Josh and I, really reconnected. It was like I was at rock bottom. He was at rock bottom in terms of health. And it was like, all right, let's help one another heal. We know what to do. So that's when we started, talking daily, lifting one another up. And then there was this point where I was like, I left my job. I was like, either I'm going to stay up in the Northeast and try to heal up there, or I could, Josh extended an offer. He was like, come down, stay in my house, stay in my kid's room. And, let's try to heal together. Let's hold one another accountable. Let's do this, this mind body healing together. And sure enough, like we started seeing progress, early on. Every day we'd get up.
It's hard though.
That was hard.
Real hard.
And like, as being a guy, there's not a lot of people in the healing world that are sharing their story, that are speaking openly about healing. And we were like, all right, let's start documenting the healing journey. Let's start sharing our story a little bit, because, we saw a need for like male, representation in the healing space. As you had mentioned in the beginning of this podcast, having 3 dudes on at once talking about this stuff is rare. And we just felt like it was, sort of our duty to start sharing the experience, sharing what we've learned, sharing, healing tools and tips. And, it started the Healing Dudes, and the name came out of a random thing. We're just like, I don't know let's just call ourselves the Healing Dudes. Like, it's just, and then it led into, what we do now.
It kind of blew up. Yeah.
And so, yeah. So
that's awesome. No, I'm so glad. First of all, so glad you're doing it. I'm so glad you've like found each other. And I think it's I don't know about you guys, and I definitely want to ask questions around each of your stories actually, and then kind of bring it together. But I don't know about you guys, but what I found was, because I've got, and this is probably a lot of my problem, like I brought a lot of like masculine energy in my life before, and people talk about feminine energy. I was like, well, I'm a guy, I don't need feminine energy. But then when I started feeling and hearing about all this, the how to heal and stuff, I was like, oh God, wow, all this masculine energy has probably not been too great for me. Like I need to be like more, calm, more relaxed, need to be more kind to myself, feel into my body, all of this stuff, which is good. Then I think I went like too far that other way, and and it was almost like, okay, yeah, that's fine, but I also need to feel strong. I also need to feel like a man as well.
Absolutely.
And I think for a long time, because of that, because it is catered a little bit more towards females, I got lost a little bit in feeling a bit weak. And I'm not saying females are weak, but do you know what I mean? Like, as in,
Right.
it feel like me, and therefore I lost a little bit of what was me. And more recently, in the last few years, when I've got into exercise and built up that, no, I am strong. I do have it in me, and like trust my body again. I don't know, that's been amazing for me. Have you guys experienced, just throughout of like curiosity, have you guys experienced anything like that in terms of like that kind of content? And yeah.
Absolutely. So, for me, I was very masculine, athlete, very testosterone and adrenaline driven, racing. This is all stuff that we were into. And, getting sick broke me. Like, I was like, all right, I just have to try harder. If I try harder, I'll get better. I'll get better. I'll get better.
Yeah.
And I realized that there was a softer part of this. I was always concerned with what my peers would think in the sports realm. So I coach high school basketball, and I've coached basketball. That's part of been what's helped pull me out of this. And in the sports realm, men, you can't look at them as weak. And, I had this idea of, what if this person thinks this, or what if this person thinks that? And I had to find a balance. It doesn't matter what they think. Like, there was that softer side of me that had to come in, like that feminine energy that realized, all right, hey, look, I'm here to heal. It's not about, that. And I hadn't touched a weight in over 20 years. And I mean, now that I'm back in the gym, I'm by no means big, but I mean, I've started, and I feel that return to my strength, but I also don't feel the need to impress or to puff my chest out anymore. I'm secure with who I am. So I'm very open about my journey on social media. I cry in my class, and I'm all right with it. Like, if anybody thinks I'm a pansy, I'm all right with it. It doesn't offend me, because I know who I am now. But before I'd gotten sick, I'd puff my chest out. My radio was out super loud. My hands on here. I'd drive the window like that. Like, I was a knucklehead. You know what I mean? I'd get in fist fights in high school and stuff like that. And I think now, like, there's more of a balance to that. And if I'd never gotten sick, I don't think that I would have ever been able to find that balance.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had something similar. I mean, obviously, I was just kind of same type of dude, like adrenaline junkie, skateboarding, snowboarding, racing my car, all that sort of stuff. But also on the other end, like, I didn't allow myself to feel feelings for like 30 some years of my life. Anytime I was like, I felt shame or guilt or sadness or anything, I would just shove it down. And I think it's just, part of our generation and culture growing up. It's like, you got to just do like, if there's any feelings that come up, don't address them. Don't show weakness, all of that sort of stuff. And so I think that was part of what led, to chronic illness as well. Yeah, it was Lyme and other things, but I think there's suppressed, traumas and feelings that we don't let out as men. And so through my healing journey, I've explored this, but, also when I got better, and went back to the work field and stuff like that, it was more like the, perfectionist, the drive to just do more, to be more, to have more, all of this stuff, and it didn't serve me. And that was the thing. I had to find that balance of like, ease and relax and allow my body to heal and not have to figure it all out and not have to do so much. That balance was needed, and also just kind of like nurturing myself. And it is that, like you said, it is that balance, because you don't want to go like too far now into like the feminine stuff and forget that. And so there has been some of that, throughout my journey as well. And then returning back to that masculinity, where we're, Josh and I both go back to the gym. We're both racing this coming weekend. We're doing racing in autocross, like just doing more masculine activities that we kind of lost throughout, the healing journey where we're now, just kind of, in our, just healing era and all that sort of stuff. I think there is that balance that is needed.
Yeah, no, totally. See, it's interesting, Joe, with your story, and because I've done so many of these episodes now, God, I don't know how many I'm on, like 100. But I've had multiple people come on who have healed and then for a few years relapsed, and each time they went back, it was because they'd gone back to kind of trying to live similar life to what got them there in the first place. And it is just so interesting, like, the universe. And I wouldn't have said the universe before I got, this is all stuff that chronic illness has made me to look at, but the universe is like essentially saying, look, I'm giving you these symptoms so you can live a different life, right? This life isn't right for you. And so it seems like you're on the right path. You're looking at mind and body stuff, you're doing a good job. I'm gonna heal you. You heal, and then you're like, I'm gonna go and drink a six and go and have a good time. I find that I still feel like I still have a way to go, because there's still a lot of lessons for me to learn and
Right.
so yeah. And Josh, with you, like, I get the sense that, well, not even get the sense, I know it sounds like relationships for you must have been like a really tough time, because you mentioned your mother-in-law as well, which must have been like really difficult. Could you talk through a little bit about that? And Joe, I'd like to hear from you on that as well, because I think it's an important point. Like, how did it affect all of the relationships in your life throughout that period?
Absolutely. So, everybody thought I was crazy. Everybody in my life thought that I'd lost my mind, especially in the mold stuff, because I did get to a point where I was sleeping in a tent on my back porch because I'd become so reactive, and the exposure was so bad. But everybody was like, dude, you look fine, go back to work, be a man. I was told that, be a man, take care of your family. So naturally getting sick, my wife didn't work. I worked full time. I made great money, so she didn't have to. So she had to go back to work, and here I am sick on the couch, and all the doctors are saying I'm fine. So naturally that put a rift, between me. And then in the beginning, all the family was supportive, but when they go to the doctor's appointments and the doctors say, hey, look, he's fine, it's just anxiety, they're like, okay. I had the last doctor that I saw before I entered in the realm write down on a piece of paper, you are healthy. And he told me to carry this around in my pocket. Like there was some magic meaning behind it. And crazy story enough, I actually went back to that guy's doctor's office. I tried to fight the doctor. And that was toxic masculinity, because that guy had taken so much of my life from me. Because when he did that and he told my family that I was okay, that it was all in my head, that's what everybody believed. And that put rifts in my relationships with my parents. The only person that believed me was my mom and my son at the time. So yeah, it had a big rift, because parents-in-law thought I was crazy. My parents thought I was crazy. My wife thought I was crazy, and my mom, who was dying of cancer, she knew. She's like, there's something wrong with you. They sent me to an inpatient anxiety clinic, and I didn't want to be there. Like, these people are crazy, not that way, but I went down and I saw the doctor. He's like, there's something physically wrong with you. So I took the money that they sent to put me in there. I took it, and I took a cab down to the Florida Keys, and I stayed in the Florida Keys for 2 weeks on a hammock. I felt sick, but that was kind of my way of, flipping the bird to everybody, saying, hey, look, I really am sick. And then eventually they saw, some of the hospital stays where it got bad. And when it's not like I woke up one morning and said, hey, let me whiz on my leg, this feels great. No, like something was really wrong. And a lot of those relationships have been restored, but they're not the same, because it's very difficult to repair that when you're going through something so traumatic as being that sick, and the people that you want to have your back just don't have your back, and I don't hold any malice or, any anger towards it, but I mean, it definitely did put a strain on relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. I had some similar things happen. I was in college when I first got sick, and I was kind of like the goofball life of the party. Like, I would get drunk and do stupid stuff. And then everyone saw this fun, adventurous dude go from like that to like laying in bed and like being super, isolated and introverted and withdrawn. And it ruined a lot of like friendships in college. For some reason, they thought my girlfriend was like, controlling me or something. I'm like, dude, I'm like so sick. Like, my girlfriend doesn't, I'm grateful to have her. But even her at the time, she would like question it because she would go to some of the doctor's appointments with me and they'd be like, your labs are fine, And there were times when I'd try to convince myself I'm fine. And then I'd be like so sick and I'd be like, I don't know what's going on. And then I'd have people questioning it. Like Josh, though, my mom was always like on my side. She was always like, I know you. Like, I'm the type of dude that would like break my ankle and go to school and be like, no, I'm good. Like, yeah, like that was the stuff that I did when I was like growing up. Like, cause I don't know, it just didn't affect me. I would just suck everything up. And so when I started getting sick, she was like, oh, something's not right. Like he's never been like this. I always had her in my corner, but like, a lot of, friendships fell away as I got sick. Like I had a few people that were like, that knew, and I'm still friends with them to this day. But a lot of people were like, I don't get what's going on with Joe. Like he just needs to suck it up and like, get out of his house and come out to the bars and stuff like that. So that happened multiple times, even when I like healed and got better, and then I kind of relapsed. A lot of people were like this is not like what's wrong with you? Just stop being lame. Like just whatever. You're stop being an old man. Like if I'm, and I would kind of like joke around a little bit at times. I'm like, yeah, I'm just whatever. Because I also didn't want to like dive into that victim mentality or whatever. But yeah, it affected a lot of relationships in my life. Some grew stronger, but some fell apart, and that was okay. But I truly believe that like the people that are meant to stay in my life and that had my back, and they're like my diehard supporters and stuff like that. So I'm super grateful for that.
Yeah, no, for sure. What's really interesting is, I think, yeah, I think, Josh, what year did you say you first started getting, like,
I first got sick in 2006.
2006. Okay, yeah. So you 2006, 2005, Joe, did you say? And it was like 2008, end of 2008. Just like really kind of like in the, I wouldn't say in the dark ages of chronic health, but like in terms of like finding information at that point, like going to a doctor at that point was just like brutal. Even it was quite mild for me then, so I saw a number of doctors, and I would do until 2014 was when it got like 24/7, 365. But even 2014, there wasn't really anything. I'd say it's only really in the last like 3 to 4 years. It's only when I did this podcast that I heard about all of the different primal trust, all of that kind of stuff that you mentioned. Yeah. So it is kind of crazy. I do hope. I was speaking about it on a podcast that I did the other day. My hope is that at some point in the future is that someone goes to a doctor, and if they can't explain what's going on, then they go, okay, this is one of those, this is one of those things, these chronic things that I don't know about. So first of all, I need to tell them that they can recover. Here's a bunch of recovery stories. Everything's going to be okay. And like a metaphorical hug. And then I need to tell them there's probably something wrong with their nervous system, and they should look at all these nervous system regulations stuff. And essentially, they're not broken, they're going to be good. And I think I don't know about you guys, but if I'd have had that kind of messaging and that kind of care, I mean, I wouldn't be, I'd be 120% now, not
exactly.
Thing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think this is the future of like medicine. I truly do. I believe that. Like I don't know how it is, how it was in the UK and where you are now, but now here in the US, it's you see a doctor for 5 minutes and they prescribe something and that's out the door. and they don't really take, and then we have, integrative medicine doctors and naturopaths, which are better. But again, still everyone's trying to find answers. And I do believe, the nervous system, the with the rise of the nervous system, information and all of that sort of stuff, it's really gonna be like the future of medicine, of how we heal from chronic conditions. And I think we're just at the beginning of it now. So
Yeah.
I'm hopeful, at least I'm optimistic.
And we're optimistic too, because we see people healing every week in our class. It's not us. They're doing the work. They're waking up. They're choosing this path. And that's, when we started doing this, that was kind of the proof for us, is like, we were really sick. And then we saw people coming in really sick, and they decided, hey, I'm desperate. Like, I want to try this. And they waked up and they were consistent, and they continued to do it, and they started getting their lives back. And I mean, for us, that was probably one of the most gratifying parts in our journey, because we're super authentic. We're not 100% better. I went from being bed sick to now I'm pretty functional. Like, I live a fairly normal life. Like Joe said, we're racing this weekend. First time I've been on the track in probably 15 years. But, to be at a point in my life where I can say that I can do that, man, I can't even tell you how grateful I am for that.
Yeah. It's really important that, actually, because I talk about it a lot on this, like something I did Primal Trust, and something she talks about, Dr. Kat King, is just finding joy in every day of your life. And I was just like, God, I've gone years without having joy in my day life. And so that was like something I through exercise, like I wanted to get back, and just you being able to do that, I think that's monumentous, really, isn't it? The fact that you can go and do that now, that's crazy. And do you ever, because I had to like check myself, like, I don't know, like a couple of months ago, and I had like some pretty bad days, and I was like, I looked back at an old video that I posted, and I was like, if I could just exercise, if I could just do that, but everything else was still the same, then I'd be happy. And that's what I have now. And so I needed to like say, whoa, just be grateful for what you have. You're on the right path. You guys have to kind of like check yourself every now and then when you get a bit.
Yeah.
We had to do that today.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We were checking Joe today. We talk about radical acceptance a lot, and accepting where you're at currently. And one of the things is we still hold each other accountable, just like we teach in our class. We're very big on community-based things and accountability. And Joe has like, yo, look, bro, look at the progress that we've made. We might not feel great today, and even though one of the things we teach is, even when you don't feel well, do it. And there's different levels of doing it. Like, say, maybe, for us, it's going to the gym. You don't feel well. Maybe I show up to the gym and I get on the recumbent bike for 3 minutes. It's the act of actually showing up consistently. Maybe you didn't lift weights that day, but you consistently showed up to the gym. You dragged yourself in there, and we accept these symptoms. We're not saying, hey, look, if you're lightheaded, faint, and dizzy, go lift weights. No, not at all. Use your brain. But the consistency is where healing happens. We feel like when you're consistent in action, like Joe said, he's like, I might not feel great this weekend, but I'm sure as hell going to hop in the car and I'm going to race, because we know that when we take our mind and we're able to flip the switch to distraction, and it's distracted, sometimes we come out of those situations actually feeling better, and we're not thinking about our symptoms. We're not hyper focused on, how lightheaded I am or how fatigued I am. And we found that, and I think Dr. Kat talks about this too, like a magnet, finding something that brings you joy in the present moment. And that's what we talk about, is finding multiple things that you can do while you're healing that make you happy and that bring you joy. For me, it's going to the gym. I'm only 3 months into it. I'm like, man, why aren't I seeing progress? But I continue to show up because it makes me feel good. And coaching basketball, playing guitar. And when we find these moments of joy, where our minds were hyper fixated on being sick and our symptoms and all these things, and we're now able to shift it to, man, I made it to the gym today. Even if I sat in a massage chair or whatever, you walk through the doors, that's a win. And we encourage people to celebrate those wins. It's not like, oh, I only made it to the gym. Oh, you made it out there. Look in the back in the past when you weren't able to even get off the couch. So I think we're really, really, really big on celebrating those wins, big or small.
Yeah. Realistic expectations are so key in type of healing. And it, as the healing journey is up and it's down. And like, again, if you would have talked to me last month and I'm like, dude, I'm like 80% there. I'm just like, again, we were living life. We've gone to like music festivals every weekend. Like there were like an F1 race, just, I've been doing stuff nonstop, and I still do stuff even when I don't feel well. But again, like there are always these little, ebbs and flows of healing. Even when you think you've kind of turned that corner and you're like, I'm feeling good. There's always like these little setbacks, and just not getting too caught up on, oh no, like this is the worst case scenario, just accepting it, and just like you said, kind of reframing it. Like, I even though I'm like kind of not where I want to be at, like it's so much better than where I was, and where we were when we were, sick 2 years ago. Just hoping for even just to be able to, get out and live life even a little bit. And now we have it,
Yeah.
it's reminding that, and still having gratitude through the ups and the downs.
No, definitely. I don't know about you. Have you? You probably wouldn't have done. I don't know how much pain is like chronic pain is like a part of like what you guys. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I did. I've done a lot of. I've like combined a lot of the nervous system stuff with like the chronic pain stuff, and it's pretty much that. I find it pretty much the same. It's all about like essentially you're teaching your nervous system you're teaching your nervous system, you're teaching yourself like to trust yourself again, essentially. And what I used to do when I went into exercise or anything was just like my biggest fear was I'm going to make myself worse. And then when I actually, and that was like a massive limiting belief of mine.
Yeah.
Remember when I came out to Bali and I started doing exercise and I was working with this trainer and I started speaking to this other guy who's experienced with this, and I talked to him, and he had a lot of experience with chronic pain, and he said something. He was like, when someone comes to me and it's clear they don't have like an acute injury, but they're saying they've got like something wrong with their back, or the back's a little bit worse today, I get them to go and do like a back squat. I get them to go and do the thing that's but help them and I support them and I make them feel safe, and they come away from that and they don't feel worse, and it really surprises them. And then to the next time they build and I was like, wow, that's like so interesting. So now whenever I've had like really what feels like a setback, I haven't just like what you said, what I used to do was just, okay, well I just need to rest for weeks and months or whatever.
Right.
I actually throw myself back into it. I'm not myself with fear, but I'm actually just acknowledging that my body's not where it needs to be, but it's not broken. And one thing that's crucial, it's not going to get worse. That's been like a big shift for me. Does that? Yeah. Have you guys?
1000%. So chronic pain, I have this tattoo right here. It says the cure for the pain is in the pain. So that it's there that you'll find me. And we've found, and it's something that we teach, you cannot heal without movement. Movement is key to healing, especially with chronic pain. So we start people off very simple with yoga, and we feel like it's basic because a lot of these people have atrophy. They haven't moved. They've been sick for so long. They're worried. So you start very simple and you work your way up. And we're not saying everybody should go to the gym right away, because I think that it's a process for everybody. Like getting back into the gym has probably been one of the biggest things outside of neuroplasticity and diet that has helped me heal. I remember going in and being so afraid that I was going to injure myself. And that fear, I believe that we can actually, you believe you're going to be in pain when you go there, you're going to be in pain because you're telling your body, you're manifesting that fear. And when I went in there and I said, all right, I'm going to take it light. I don't lift super heavy. I don't lift to exhaustion or to failure or anything like that. But I do lift to the point where when I'm done, I'm a little bit sore. And is that soreness that's reminded me, hey, look, my body's doing what it needs to do. I'm breaking down muscle. It's rebuilding. And I have felt so much better in my body at 44 than I did at 26. And it was like, showing up. And it's not like, hey, I'm in a lot of pain, let me go lift heavy. No, let me show up. Let me do some light reps and get rid of the fear. And I realized, hey, look, my body needs to move. A body in motion stays in motion. And I think so often with chronic illness, what happens is we don't feel well. And obviously everybody should go as long as your doctor's okayed you for exercise, but we stop moving. And I think that when we begin moving again, it's sore. Your body's a little rough, but as you get into it, you feel better. You start to, I've fallen in love with movement. I've fallen in love with lifting. I was never really a big lifter, but it's now something that's such a big part of my life. I could never go back, whether I'm in pain or whether I don't have pain. I still go to the gym. So
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing too is just, and I wrote this in my book, and we talk about it all the time to people, like our bodies are capable of so much more than we give them credit for, and we realize, and it's usually through action that you realize, oh, wow, like my body can actually do this. I didn't think I could do it. Like it was my mind and my limiting beliefs. And, obviously you don't feel well, but when you start doing these things and you kind of step out of your comfort zone of like chronic illness, of sickness, and you start stepping out of that box that you kind of contained yourself in, you start realizing like how much you're capable of, even with chronic illness, even with like these symptoms and stuff like that. And that's something that I've learned a lot over the years. It's like, even though like we have neurological, cognitive, pain, all of these things, like, our bodies are miraculous, healing machines. And also, even when you're in it all, like we can kind of overcome some of those things. And sometimes overcoming, those limitations is so healing, because you're like, it's like this goal, you achieved this goal, and that reward that you get from like, wow, I did this, is like the whatever you get, dopamine or endorphins and these things, is healing. So, we encourage people to kind of step out of your comfort zone and show your body that you're safe to do this stuff. Like you can tell your body you're safe. You can visualize, you can do affirmations and all that stuff. But until you kind of like do those things, like the trainer like had you do, it's like then you actually see it, and you're like, it actually rewires your brain and helps you, form those pathways and feel better, while you're doing it. So
yeah,
well, it's pretty.
Yeah, that's so true. You're providing yourself with evidence each time that you are stronger, and that you are, you do have that ability. You're not this weak little thing. I think if we all get to the end of our lives and they give us the big book of like, this is what you were capable of in your life, and you're like, oh, holy shit, I could have done so much more.
yeah,
Looking obviously, each of the three of us now this has been part of our lives for like quite a long time.
yeah,
And I think for some people who I have messaged me, some of them, it's been going on for, even longer, like 20, 30 years. And they're still in the thick of it. For me now, I'm in a position where I totally think it's been the best thing that could have happened for me. I genuinely believe it. That's not to say I like the shit I've been through, and like I like feeling like shit, but the things it's given me, and I genuinely think that the other path that I was on, it would have ended up badly in the end anyway, and I would have been unhappy. I might have been physically healthy for a while, but I would have ended. So it has been a gift. Do you guys see that as well? If so, could you talk through a little bit about how your life's potentially like better now as a result?
yeah. I mean, I made a post on Facebook about this, and I had someone argue with me, like, how can you find silver lining in this? And it was actually someone that was in our class. Joe, you should go read it. It's kind of funny. So, it started as me, I'm kind of on a 90-day journey. I've been posting we have a journal that we put out. And for the past 90 days, I've been posting just kind of my journey every single day, getting in the gym, doing the things, doing these routines that I do to get better. And the question was posed, would you change anything about your life and getting ill if you had the ability to? And that's a tough question. I've been sick for 17 years. And the answer is absolutely not, because the person that I was caught in that rat wheel. I was constantly chasing the cheese, sit in traffic for 2 hours a day, go to work for 8 hours, sit in traffic again for another 2 hours, drink on the weekends, get back and start it again on Monday. I will never go back into that lifestyle. And in hindsight, looking back, that there was no real joy. And to be sick to the level that we've been sick and to experience life again, I can't think of anything more beautiful. I definitely didn't like suffering. It was
Oh,
terrible. But now that we've been able to go through this, and Joe and I both feel a calling to help people heal, to see the people heal that we have that have come through the class, to see the lives that have been changed, to see the lives that have been saved. I mean, I choke up every time I talk about it, man. Like I I just don't think that there's ever a price tag that I could be able to put on that. And for me personally, the lessons that I've been able to teach my 4 kids, because I've been through some heart. My second to youngest had open heart surgery. 9 months into life, like a lot of stuff. And health is the greatest gift we don't know we have till we lose it. And now I appreciate life so much more now at 44. And I know the next 44 years of my life will be the most spectacular because I don't take a day for granted. I go outside, I enjoy nature, I hear the birds chirping. I'm thankful for that. I'm a grateful person. Whereas
yeah.
before, I was like money, 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 cars, status, climb the corporate ladder, like got to beat the next man. Like that was my mentality. And now I was like, dude, you can have that world. I want no part of that world. I'm all about chill, take it easy. I want to see my kids grow up. I want to race cars with Joe, like, and help people heal. And that's what life was. And if I never got sick, I wouldn't have been able to be the father that I am. I wouldn't be able to have this perspective that I have, and I wouldn't be enjoying life the way that I am now. And, if you were to ask me this question a year and a half ago, my answer would have probably been radically different. But now that I've begun to get better and I see the other side, life is more beautiful now than it's ever been in my entire life.
well, yeah, I second that. I mean, again, like when I wrote my book, that was like the one of the things that I said. It was just, the sense of gratitude and appreciation you have for the small things and just health and stuff like that. You don't get that when you're healthy, and unfortunately, no one would say that like I'm grateful for this illness while they're in it. Like, I mean, we suffer. It's some, hellish nightmare stuff that we've all gone through, where you're like, I don't even know if I can make it through the day. So like I'm sympathetic of the people that feel that way. But I often tell people, I'm like, when you get to the other side, you're going to be grateful for the experience that you went through. This is I did. Like I went through, a lot of hell, to get to the health of the other side. And then I fell back into the hell, like with forgetting a lot of this stuff. And just going through it and overcoming these things and becoming an entirely new person, with a newfound sense of appreciation for the little things and the small things in life. You'll never get that, about just if you just live a normal, healthy life, or whatever. So there is something to be said about that, and that there's that quote. It's like, I think it's Sigmund Freud. It's like, in retrospect, the years of struggle will strike you as the most beautiful. And I resonate with that so much. It's like, it's such a powerful, saying and quote. It's like, but while you're in it, you're not gonna say that. But after the fact, you're gonna be like, wow, I can't believe I made it through that. And I'm grateful for that experience. And so, it's tough to grasp, but I think it's true. When you get to that level of healing, to that other side, most people are grateful for that experience and when they
Absolutely.
were.
Yeah, and it's made me more resilient in other areas of my life actually. Like I run a business now, and we've had some very challenging times in the last year, and I really feel like it's made me, because I truly believe in well, it's the evidence is all there. It's just like we're all just on one cycle really. Like unfortunately some cycles last a lot longer than others, but whatever you're going through, whether it's good or bad, it's gonna end, and we're gonna transition through it. And so yeah, I think the length at which it's bad depends on kind of like how quickly you like learn your lesson, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to, yeah, I guess just to end, it would be good to get your guys, like, what would be your guys' advice, like separately and maybe together, for someone who right now who is, you guys have been there, bed bound, not able to leave their house. lost everything, really feeling lonely, what would be your advice to that person now for them to keep going, keep moving forward?
Yeah, don't give up.
Yeah.
Find community, find support, find people that have your back. Get out of toxic support groups. They're just echo chambers for fear.
Yeah.
And believe that you can heal, and realize that this journey is very uncomfortable. We say this often in class, that healing is more uncomfortable than the actual act of being sick. Like, healing is very difficult. And I think, unfortunately, so many people paint this beautiful healing picture, and it's not. It's kind of like stepping in the ring and getting hit in the face by Mike Tyson and falling down and getting up, and Evander Holyfield hits you with a left hook. Like, it's crazy. And, you learn resilience, but when you go through it, understanding that when you surrender to everything that you're struggling with, your symptoms, your sensations, the labels, all of that, there's an ultimate surrender, and there's a belief that you can get better. There's power in that. I used to give so much power to my symptoms, my identity. I was a Limey. Like, I had it in my bio. I was a Lyme warrior. And when you shed the identity of actually being sick and choose to believe that life can be great again, and living life despite your symptoms, your sensations. And I know there's going to be a lot of people that listen to this and are like, how can you say that? Believe me, I was in bed for 18, 19 hours a day. Like, I just didn't want to live anymore. I was so sick, and there wasn't any medication or anything that I took that got me better. I believed that I was the medicine, and it wasn't easy. And I showed up daily, and I was consistent. And there's enough information out there on YouTube, the internet, your podcast, about neuroplasticity and nervous system regulation. Watch the Heal documentary. But the biggest thing is, regardless where you're at in your journey, you are never too far gone to heal. Like, there is always hope. I never thought that I would get better and have the life that I have now. And 17 years later, after trying to take my life, after being sick, after being in the hospitals, after being abandoned by family, here I am living my best life now. And I'm not any different from anybody else that's watching this podcast. You can definitely get better. All the information's out there. So find community, believe you can get better, and stay consistent. Change comes. And remember that it's not linear, that it goes up and down. So,
yeah. I mean, I think Josh covered the majority of that. Whole second, all that first stuff. Just, again, I'll reiterate, just the power of consistency and showing up for yourself on a daily basis. Don't get into your fears over, the belief that you can heal. When you're on this journey of healing, it's going to be difficult at times, and just the simple act of showing up consistently daily for yourself is going to make a difference. And like Josh said, let go of the identity of being a chronically ill, let go of the labels of your diagnosis and all of that sort of stuff. It's not going to serve you to heal. You really have to really shift your entire lifestyle, and it's from all of the negative habits and thoughts and behaviors to ones that are going to help you heal. And it's as simple as that. It doesn't have to be so complicated, but it is hard work, and it does take some time. So
yeah, for sure.
I'll add that. That's about it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Guys, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your stories. What you're doing is much needed. So yeah, like, props to you guys for doing it, and also just love that you're doing it, within your own healing journey as well, because I think that's even more powerful, because it's a lot more, relatable in a way. People can see you've made the progression. You're not quite there yet, similar to me, but you're still able to live, a great life, which I think that's almost like the best example you can set.
Yeah.
So congrats, guys, on that. If people want to get in contact with you, is it best to do that via Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram is probably our biggest platform. It's just at The Healing Dudes. Our website's thehealingdudes.com. Our stories and stuff are up there, and everything that we can do to help. So
awesome. Yeah. Go look these guys up, guys. They're putting out content every day. So very active. So yeah, go look them up. But thank you, guys. Really, really appreciate it. Really excited to get this one out there for everyone to see.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much for having us, man. We appreciate it.